Yeah. Miracles come while we in the fight. Don't give up and hold him tight. You will have a visible battle scar, but never forget who you are and fight, fight, fight.
Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And I hope that you have been watching Embracing the Fight for at least a year now, because we started in January, now it's December. But if you have, and you haven't taken a chance to subscribe, click like, click share, comment, please do. There's still time. I'm trying to spread the message, spread the wealth, spread the healing as much as I can for as long as I can. Because Embracing the Fight was designed to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. And today is no different. I have a guest that I have known since 1996. I met him in college, and this story is a difficult one to tell because when you know this person, you know that they are a pillar of intelligence and strength, but you never know what goes on, behind the mask. And we all wear the mask at some point in our life, but he has found the formula to take off that mask. This is episode 48, The Formula. Take a look. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Embracing the Fight. We're just going to jump right in. As you see, I have a guest on the screen today. And today's episode is episode 48, The Formula. I'm very interested to go ahead and jump right in with this, but I want him to introduce himself and explain to you all why he named episode 48 The Formula. So who are you?
My name is Andrew Nathaniel Anderson. Born in Liberia, Painesville, Liberia. Grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Went to school in South Carolina.
Okay.
Then started having children in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And Pan-Africanist. And one of the reasons why I call it The Formula, and one of the reasons I was interested in the show was because there's a talk on mental health.
Okay.
And some of the things, which is the formula for failure, the formula for success, and the formula for a healthy lifestyle, which is some things I've been contemplating on. And when I saw Erica online, and she was discussing, this mental health thing, it was something that brought interest to me because of the diverse experience I had and what led me to be who I am.
Okay. So with that being said, everyone keeps hearing him say, Erica, Erica, Erica. That's because we know each other. And if you are watching Embracing the Fight, at least I'll say about 90% of my guests are people that I know. And I do know Andrew personally. So I'm going to let him tell you how we know each other.
Erica was a student in the engineering building, and for not just historical Black universities, but for most universities, we know that, especially that time for young women to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, you can't find them too many places. So I have two stories of my meeting with Erica. One, she was with a very rowdy freshman group of leaders. And me at the time, I was student government president. Yeah, and I was just always on the lookout for young future leaders. And Erica was one of those. And then also being in the engineering building, we have an organization called Nestle. And we were trying to, some of my friends, my fraternity brothers at that, were, and we're just happy to see freshmen already, on the pathway for to become engineers. And so that's how Erica and I met.
Okay. That sounds like a real good story, right? It is an amazing story because I chose South Carolina State because it was a historically Black college and university, and there were some people in my church that actually attended South Carolina State, and they made it sound so wonderful. I said, "Oh, let me go here, let me see what this is like." And here I am, a little freshman, just walking around campus, minding my own business, and I'm in the engineering building, and these guys come up to me, and they're all, "Yeah, you should join NSBE." And it was funny because it was maybe 4 or 5 more, because it was Charlene wasn't a freshman; she was a sophomore at the time. But Shawan, Karen, Takora, and Shantae, they all were freshmen when I was a freshman, and we all joined NSBE just because you guys took the time to say something to us about it, and not just coming up to us because we were cute, because we knew we were cute. You know what I mean? But we wanted to make sure that we were getting into an organization that would help us along the way. So I appreciate that memory. And the people who went to my church, the rowdy group of kids that you're talking about, she was one of those people. Well, she was the child of one of those people that also influenced me to go to South Carolina State. And that was Mr. and Mrs. Fred Matthews, and Sabrina Matthews is the one who, I was with when I met you as well. So South Carolina State was a wonderful and amazing place for me to be, and it helped me to meet people like you. So with that being said, let's talk about this formula, okay? And when you talk about, mental health, that's not a subject that people just want to jump into and give all their information, about themselves, because they feel like, they're going to be judged, or they're going to be looked at, differently. But in your case, you want to help people. You want people to see things as though they are, and not feel as if they don't belong. And the conversation that you and I had was, when you were growing up in Connecticut, you knew you were African. You knew that you were born, African. You were not African American. You were strictly African, but you didn't necessarily fit into what we consider, African American or Black society. Then you went to an all Black college university, an HBCU, and you got there, and people looking at you saying, "You African, you're not Black." Then you leave the United States, you go to Africa, and they're saying to you, "You're not African enough." So you're trapped, between these two worlds. How does that, play on your mental health? How does that affect you?
I think growing up, I remember in my youth suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I remember running away. I think you, Erica, this is the first time I've ever exposed myself this way
Okay.
to somebody. But I used to, not like how people can say cutters, but just to see how much pain I can take,
Mm-hmm.
and this is an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, what have you. Once, of course, I got into sports,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember my third grade teacher, but I don't remember her name. I just remember this white third grade teacher, and she knew that I knew how to draw.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a Bridgeport, it was a competition, and I did a drawing, and she submitted it, but I didn't know that she was submitting my drawing for the competition, and I won, and it was third grade. And at the time, this is the beginning of the crack era, like the beginning of the crack era in the early 80s. So that was the first part of salvation, right? The formula, if we're going to lead into it, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
recognized somebody who was a stranger, who was a white lady, and the feeling that I got when my name was in the newspaper and the picture that I drew was in the newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the beginning of me taking a different direction from the streets.
Okay.
It's like I'm still, cuckoo in the brain, if you want to say it, but I grew an early appreciation for the applause of my teachers and, applaud from the school.
Okay,
So
so
that
let's stop right there.
Mhm.
You say that you were cuckoo in the brain at 8 years old. What made you believe that you were cuckoo in the brain? Because most 8-year-olds, they playing with toys and they outside, they're not really thinking about their mental health. What does cuckoo in the brain actually mean, and why were you that at 8 years old?
I was for everybody else. I was weird. I do music, and there's a song I wrote in when I was still in high school. I
Hmm.
didn't record until later on in life, but it begins as a child. Confusion struck my brain. Stuck
Okay.
with two names, answer to neither, so they labeled me insane. Cast in an ocean of self-doubt, a sperm cell that took the wrong route. Since the hours of my birth, my veins still shout. I wrote that as a 14-year-old, so you must know about, you understand.
Right.
So it's like going back to the fact that I was raised by Jamaicans.
Okay.
Um, and my father and I were the only Liberians, the only Africans around.
Hmm.
So here I am trying to fit in my new family. Um, my biological mother's not around. My stepmother did not know that her husband had a child before. So in life, as we grow older, we look back, we realize that, our parents, same way we are learning, they
Hmm.
were learning. So I never felt like I preferred to be by myself.
Right.
And everyone thought I was just weird.
Okay.
You know, yes, when everyone wanted to be a rapper, I wanted to be a poet. When everyone was doing this, I did the opposite. If I play with my toys, I play with my toys by myself. So it was my stepsister Kenya that actually tried hard to make me hip. But
Mhm.
I was just weird. But I didn't feel. This funny thing is, um, I don't know. I watch African children here that develop fast.
Mhm.
You know, so I mean, their cognitive skills they develop fast, but they
Mhm.
just don't have the access to the tools that we have in the West.
Mhm.
So I would just get up on the table in my classroom and take my shirt off, and I hated to wear shoes. And
Mhm.
as soon as somebody say go back on a banana boat, I'm punching them in the face. You know,
Yeah,
e-
kids can
I-
be cruel.
but for some reason, again, the formula. For some reason, I always felt that I can prove to you something.
Mhm.
Where it came from, I have no idea. Was I depressed? Did I have issues? Yes, because I did some crazy. You look back at it, like again, I would have straight A's
Mhm.
and all red fours. So you remember when we were young, we used to take the kindergarten, first, second, third, middle school field trips, right?
Yes.
I
Mhm.
would be that kid who has the highest grades, but I can't go on field trips because of my bad behavior.
Wow.
But I
So
was
I mean,
acting up.
yeah. So
I was
I mean,
acting up.
I understand now, really where you're coming from, because kids, well, as children, we call things based off of what we see. So
Mhm.
when someone was different, we will refer to them, as cuckoo or crazy or whatever. So you saw yourself as being different, and you were calling yourself crazy when you weren't weird, you weren't crazy, you were just different. And that teacher that you were talking about, the one who took your drawing and put it, in the paper, she saw something different in you, but she changed your different into something special. So now you're
Mhm.
special. And at this point, you said you saw, your drawing in the paper, and it made you have a certain type of feeling, and you were going, into that as you were talking about, the formula and how you got to believe or think that you were different, you were special. So how did that really change your life and change your mindset?
I That's a very good question. And when I say it's a very good question, it's deep because it allowed me to find reason to stay alive. You know, again, you, a coup happened in my country. I'm just taken, brought to America. I'm taken away from my mother, who I don't have too many, you know, from 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old memories. I don't have too many of those, but I can imagine what I was thinking, because now you're not with your mother, you're in a strange environment by yourself, and then you can't speak English properly. We, even though Liberia is an English speaking country, we technically are go by colloquia.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for Jamaicans. So they put me back. They put me back a grade. And you have to work to catch up. And you're the oldest child, but you're the youngest child, because here your siblings have to teach you everything. Your 3 year old brother knows more than you know, because you're different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we changed schools 4 times before. Yeah, by the time I got to 7th grade, we changed school 4 times because of my parents trying to make sure we don't get into crime.
Mm-hmm.
My time coming up, drug dealers were literally 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if it wasn't for that, if it was not for school and finding love in school, because I didn't find love at home, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
find love in it. So finding love in school refocused me.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between me and my cousins and my friends, that some of them are still locked up, some are dead, what have you, was I didn't find glory in sneakers. I didn't find glory in clothes, even though later on I used to like to dress up, right? I found glory in my teachers and my peers in school, and got lost in books. Like, books was like what people use drugs for. Here is this house and community that doesn't love you, right? But then you read White Fang and you're in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
That's what basically led me to reading.
Mm-hmm.
And James Baldwin also played a big part in my life, because when you go tell it on the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
so here's a kid and he's going through what he's going through, and so forth, and you start identifying with characters in the book, but not characters in the street.
Right. I can
Yeah.
imagine, or I should say, I can imagine, what it would have been like to be ripped away from my mother, at a young age, and being placed in a strange environment and not feel any connection with anyone when I go home. But then I get a connection with my teachers, and I start, reading books and identifying with characters in books, but I still don't have any connections really with my peers because they think, that I'm weird. So what did this do for you as far as your adult life? Because this is what you saw, growing up as a child. How did this, help you build relationships? How did you go about doing that sort of thing? Because if you always felt like an outsider, how did you become like the SGA president of South Carolina State? How does someone do that? How do you overcome?
The simple answer:
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted anyone to feel what I felt.
Okay.
And it's strange, because I remember a friend of mine in high school said, they call me Dre. My name is Andrick, right? But I went by Andre, because at that time no one can say Andrick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's why when you met me, I made sure everybody said Andrick
Mm-hmm.
Anderson.
Yes.
But it was a flip. You know, they say hurt people, and I will say that there's been times when I've heard people being delusional, meaning trying to help too much, and at the end of the day, that was not someone I should have put my time and energy into. Um, but for some reason, I went the opposite direction. I just never wanted anyone to feel what I felt. You know, then the way in which I almost, I'm gonna be honest with you, almost was like always emulating my teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when I was in high school, my teachers treated me different.
Mm-hmm.
I was never by my teachers now, I was never treated like, I can tell you some of my teachers were racist. I look back at it now, I know some of them were racist. But I was never treated, I was always treated like that one is different because again, everyone was so interested in the streets in the
Mm-hmm.
80s coming up, and I just was not. So it was almost like here's this one good one.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not coming from my family. It was coming from my teachers. And
Okay.
so I always felt that I should emulate my teachers. And the other thing is I also went to a small school.
Mm-hmm.
So I never became the athlete that I could have become
Mm-hmm.
because I went to a small school. So the coaches are not the right coaches, the equipment is not the right equipment, blah, blah, blah. So like how we met,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, it's like something that's always been a part of me. Like, we got to make more Andricks. We got to make more great kids, great people. Whether you're female, you're male, I don't care. We need more leaders. I think you remember me on campus,
All the
and
time.
and and, and that was I hope I answered your question, but
You did.
that I didn't want anyone to ever feel the way I felt.
So what saved you? What healed you? What kept you from going through with committing suicide?
Poetry.
Okay.
The first poem I wrote. First poem I wrote. Yeah, that was the first thing. The first thing because it was just 4 lines. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
remember, but I don't want to take time trying to remember. But it was learning how to express myself and knowing that I can make people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found salvation in making people happy. I remember like my friends, if it was Valentine's Day, I would make special Valentine's cards and sell it. Like, tell me how you feel about this person, or tell me, I'll write a poem, I'll draw the picture,
Uh-huh.
and they'd have a special Valentine's card, and it made me feel happy.
Okay. So you never thought about making, an Andrick Anderson like mahogany type Hallmark card or anything of that nature, something that, you could spread love and spread joy. You were just using that to heal yourself and not to make, millions of dollars, right?
I've never that is I think that was my biggest one of my biggest burden is I don't respect money. I
Okay.
just used to just do things for the moment. Like I can't even trophies, awards. I can't find most of them.
Okay.
You know, they're like leaves on a tree. You grow, they disappear in the winter. New Year comes. So I believe that in the this is the outcome of the mental, because if I was in the home in which I was in and in the environment in which I was in, if I allowed myself to shine too much, I would get hurt.
Hmm. Why do you say that?
No one was doing what I was doing. You know, all my, people are in and out of jail. By the time I was 13, 14, my friends and cousins and everybody's just doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this African kid, the outsider, and he's doing good. So you learn to be successful, but hide your success. Open the door, but make sure you don't make the door doesn't make too much noise. You don't want no noise. Walk
Right.
softly. Yeah. So it's almost like the the history of African Americans you're African American, you're a genius, but you can't let the white people know because they will kill you. It's the same psychological thing.
Right. So basically, you taught yourself to be muted, in other words, because you didn't want to stand out, but you still wanted to be able to move in silence and do the things that you did to make yourself great and to continue to move on in your life. So, how does that affect your mental health now, considering, that you're in Africa and you're trying to make, some big moves, you're trying to do some things over there that are really going to make a difference? But how do you do that and remain muted still and keep your mental health?
You, I don't know if you reached out to me or how it happened, but I think now that I've realized why I've behaved a certain way with all the talent that God gave me. You
Mhm.
know, there's very few people are engineer, athlete, scholar, musician, blah blah blah. You know, whatever. You know, traveler. You know, world traveler. But I realized that I have been in my own way because I have not been able to admit that I was abused.
Mhm.
And I think that uh, this is why um, people, whether it's a woman who's been raped or a man who has been a boy child who was molested, um, they get to a point in life and they're like, but I'm supposed to be more successful than this, or maybe I'm successful to other people, but I'm not as successful that I believe that I'm supposed to be, what have you, right? So
Mhm.
you why this contract where, meaning you're in a situation and your response
Mhm.
and how you handle the situation is not the way it's supposed to be handled. You're always, aggressive. And you start as an adult now, you start thinking back. So again, that is why in 20 years will pass before a rape victim comes down and say, I gotta talk about this.
Mhm.
20 years, somebody, a boy that was molested, I gotta talk about it. Because now you realize that you cannot, you're looking down at the end, your life is, you got 30 more years I can count. Like I'm gonna live to 88, right? So
Mhm.
you got 38, 39 years to live, right? And so
Mhm.
you can't make mistakes and you asking yourself, but why am I making these mistakes? And you realize it's all in your brain and it comes from this particular place. So now you have to deal with it
Mhm.
for you not to make the same mistakes again. So your
Right.
last 38 years or 39 years can be as fruitful as the fruits that God wanted you to bear, you can bear it properly.
So that's basically what trauma does to you. So if you think about, say, a woman that dated someone for 2 years and she's done everything that she could have done, and the person still cheated, or they there was domestic violence or something like that. So the next time she looks to date someone, she's going to look at the red flags that that person had that did all those things to her. And now she's going to impress that upon the next person, whether she says it or not, because she didn't deal with the trauma that caused her to build this force field around herself. And in hearing you say, abuse, you can speak on it as far as you would like to, or not at all. But I'm interested to know, was it more mental abuse or was it physical abuse, or both?
It was both.
Okay. And was it at the hand of someone that you trusted?
Just being a black man in America,
Mhm.
and never being able to really find a tribe. I
Mhm.
think that you remember your freshman year, you'll find me around you guys more
Yeah.
than even my fraternity,
Mhm.
you know, because my mentality was just completely different. So literally never being able to find a tribe is a lonely world. But because my purpose was always the black community, the black community, the black community, and that turned into Liberia. The dark cloud never ever consumed me,
Mhm.
you know. But it's for someone not to find belonging is mental abuse. That's why you see some of the, I don't want to say white boys, but seriously, when they go on a rampage and they kill a bunch of people, is because they found no connection nowhere. I escaped in my purpose, but mine's coming up was physical and it was mental.
Okay.
I'm talking in the terms of family. It
Okay.
was physical and
And then with it being, in family, and then you didn't have an escape either, because if it's at home and then it's with the kids that you're around, and then you find some solace in teachers, but now, you say you think back, like a few minutes ago, you were saying that some of the teachers may, have been racist, and you were one that was strictly, Black power, enlightenment, being awakened, making sure that you are an integral part, of change. Was that solely driven by how you were treated? Is that what, propelled you forward to said, okay, I have to find a cause because I don't necessarily belong with a group of people? Is that what kept you going?
All right, that's 100%. And also, I don't think, I think, I can't say it was a facade,
Mhm.
right? Meaning, I never found too much value in myself because it was, like I said earlier, it would be dangerous for me to find value in myself because of the jealousy and the things that was around me. That at that time when you're a child, you're not going to call it jealousy, what have you. But um, this black sheep is being successful, and nobody else in the family is being successful. That will be there. Um, this kid, he'll fight, he'll play basketball, but he's not on the block late at night. So so the value that I found in myself had more to do with what I can do for the community and other people. Because once that one is taken away, then when I look in the mirror, I used to not be not too happy.
Mhm. But when you look in the mirror now, what do you see?
Someone determined. I can just say God loves me.
Okay.
I can tell people that God loves me because, again, even I'm in Liberia, um, my family is my family, but I'm not a part of the family, but it's still my family.
Mhm.
My community is my community, but I'm not part of the community, but it's still my community.
Okay.
So it's like still trying to find that piece of the puzzle to make sure now that I'm more confident in myself, not
Mhm.
in not in my hands,
Mhm.
meaning the work that I do, or just to go to sleep happy with myself, knowing that I tried everything I could possibly try. I'm a little bit lucky, divorced twice,
Mhm.
and my wife now is because, and I believe that this relationship is even lasting because now I'm self-analyzing myself.
Okay. So have you ever sought out therapy or anything like that?
She and I discussed it.
Mhm.
And if I was in America, I would go straight to therapy, like get off the plane and go to therapy. But we don't have those things in Africa or in Liberia, this part of Africa.
Well, they have BetterHelp that you can, log on and do just like how we're conversing here, on this podcast, where you can actually have sessions where you can do an individual session, with you and a counselor, or you can do a session with you and your wife. I'm only saying this because I had to go through, some mental health counseling, after I divorced because if you've been watching my podcast, you'll know that I did not do my due diligence when I married, and I haven't, married again, and I'm not, really dating because there's some things that I need, to correct, some things that I need to, heal in my life, and BetterHelp, they have been instrumental in, helping with that. That's the only reason, I mentioned that. I wouldn't mention something I wouldn't do myself. So, if
Okay.
you're interested, I can send you the link. But otherwise, just keep the lines of communication open, with your wife. But the next question I had, I'm glad to hear that you say that God loves you. You have a wife that, is you're in a relationship that appears to be lasting or can continue on for years. But you have 4 children,
Put up,
right? Huh?
puts up with a lot.
Okay, you got 4 kids, right? So when it comes to your children, do you see yourself in them?
The stuff that God put in me,
Mhm.
yes. The stuff that man put in me, no. The reason why I know, maybe my daughter Nandi, um, because I think my separate, I brought her to Africa,
Mhm.
um, sent her back for vacation, and issues on this side, she stayed. And I knew that she really had my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never able to bring her back here to raise her. But I overlove my children, but I discipline them in an African way. My ex-boss, Bob Carlson, I saw him. He was successful. He inherited his father's business.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was important to me. And his sister was successful, and his children were successful, and his nieces and nephews. He was an Irish guy. So I asked him, Bob, why everybody around y'all? I mean, of course, everybody got problems, but as far as everyone in his family, they were all rich.
Mm-hmm.
Kids go to good school. So I asked him, how do y'all do it? And he said, Innocent, always tell your children you love them, and if you can afford, send them to the best schools. I lived by that. I think that my father and I didn't have a relationship until I was in college, and I established it. Why? Because you're sitting there and your roommate, their parents are sending them care packages and everybody, I love you, this, that. I'd go like 2 years without talking to anybody in my family,
Wow.
Yeah. So even I call my aunt, even now, my biological mother, which my daughter is named after. She and I haven't talked since 2018, since my brother died.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Yeah, so, but it's you cannot make people different than who they are, and everyone has their own demons that make them what they are. And just so happens that they happen to be your family. It happens to be your mother, your father, what have you. So again, I think that coming to the point where I know that God loves me and staying focused and the children making sure that they are mentally healthy. It's funny when we're in Africa. It's the same thing in the Caribbean. We call it yard. When I come into the yard, all the other kids, because they've gotten used to my children doing it, every child in the yard runs to hug me when I come. So not just my own children, everybody, and I'm the only man that does that. But that's because of what I learned in the West. Father, if you want to be a good father, your child must know that you love them, you hug them, you play sports with, play with them.
And that sounds like that's the formula. That is the formula that healed you.
Yes.
I got it. That's good. That makes sense. All right. So what advice would you give, say, to, a parent who has a child that's struggling like you were struggling? How can you get this parent to, help to get this child to open up to them and tell them what's going on? But then on the flip side, how can you let this child know it's important that they use their voice?
I think consistency. My children know when I'm cussing for a reason, because I'm not cussing them every day. You understand what I'm saying? Like some parents,
they curse every day. Yeah.
Cuss their children every day. So I talk like my older kids now. We can talk, and I talk to them like my friends. I'm talking about we're younger.
Right.
So the same way I will talk to my 24-year-old is the same way I'll talk to my friend on the street, male friend on the street. We talk the same way because now he's an adult. Or in their growing up, you don't want to put them in a shell. You don't want them to feel like they make mistakes. If they spill something, you let them because that's what a lot of parents do, which causes people to go into a shell. But when you're free to make mistakes, when your child grows up free to make a mistake, free to express themselves, they will come in and will tell you everything. This is what you did wrong. Like, I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna beat you, right? Yes, daddy. And I come home and I do exactly what I said, right? But not in a violent way. You understand? And then maybe 3 or 4 months or 5 months might pass before I even have to beat the kid again. Then by the time they're 8, 9 years old, I should not have to be, I can tell my kids the age you are right now, me beating you, what am I gonna get out of it? You already know me, you already know right or wrong. So you decided to do this. So I think respecting the advice mainly is to respect the child's personality.
Okay.
Take the time to observe it, because all your children are not going to be the same, especially if you take children that are not yours and they've been under different conditions, what have you. So that is the biggest advice. Be patient to observe. It's the same thing for a coach. You have to figure out how to get the best out of that player.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share concerning your mental health, or anything that you think will be important to share for this episode?
When we say the formula, I think when it comes to mental health, the formula is to believe in something higher than yourself, and to spend more time giving out love than wanting to supplement your pain by abusing others. Then some way, somehow, no matter how bad it gets, the universe will always pay you back. They'll always maintain you. And children are our greatest resource. And majority of the things that go on happens between 3, or let's say 2 and 8, formative years. So that's it.
So is there anything else, that you want to share? Anyone you want to say hi to? Any teachers you remember from South Carolina State, or, anything like that? Anything you want to say before we close it?
South Carolina State. Okay, Bridgeport raised me. South Carolina made me, and I grew up and became a man in Atlanta. Okay. So, like my whole South Carolina State family, the last time I was in America, I was able to go and I had a ball for the reunion. I think this year, 2024 now, I should be able to go back. But my best friend Charles Muhammad, that when I was put out of home, I lived with. My fraternity, of course. Rest in peace to Tyrone Cloyd. And the whole Beta Delta. And again, Bridgeport raised me. South Carolina made me. And that Black college experience, and I think that is that thing I'm talking about. The nourishment that we receive there and the confidence that we receive by going to HBCUs. That is why most Black professionals come from HBCUs.
That's true. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out, today. And I appreciate you reaching out and being a willing participant on Embracing the Fight. Thank you for tuning in to the 48th episode of Embracing the Fight, The Formula. I hope that you were able to find the formula, that you'll be able to use the formula in dealing with mental health and physical health issues, because the formula remains the same. God, you must find yourself. Self-expression. You have to be able to speak about either mental or physical health issues and concerns. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming out, and thank you for being so transparent. Please tune in to the next episode of Embracing the Fight. You all have an absolutely amazing day.